Have you ever heard this music? If you have, that probably means you've seen one of my other videos. If not, then what are you doing? Go hit that subscribe button, man. Anyways, my point is, I get a ton of comments asking about what song is in my transition music. So for today, I thought I'd break down how I made that track over 2 years ago. Also, if you guys want royalty-free acapellas, make sure to check the link in the description. It'll really help support the channel. So without further ado, let's get into it. First, I start the track by setting it to 150 BPM. Next, I took a punchy transient kick and layered it with a heavier sub kick. Together, I made this filler using a jazz snare and some impacts. Add a reversed impact as well. Always add the water drops, always. I added a trap snare for some percussion. I layered it with a tonal perk to give it a unique sound. Also, I added a heavier trap snare for some low end. For movement, I made a unique sounding percussion loop. Add some soft clicky hi-hats. I added some vinyl and saturated the low end. I also chopped up some MESTO hi-hats for some rhythm. Add some impacts. Add a downlifter. Here's what all my drums and effects together sounded like. Don't ever forget the Deep Boy. Deep Boy gang for life. Add a modulated plucky bass line that slowly fades in. First, I started with a simple distorted FM bass. Next, I added a sort of dubstep sounding bass for some high-end texture. Next, I added a low-pass bass with some higher harmonics being cut. Also, layer it with a bit crush bass. Add a percussive bass. Add that same bass in a higher octave layer. Modulate some pads to the same rhythm as the bass line. For the second half of the intro, I also changed the progression to ascend in scale. I also did the same thing to the saw synth with a heavy cutoff filter. Next, I added some square-inspired synths. First, I started with a super saw that has a cutoff modulated. Next, I simply added a distorted square synth. Next, I added some emotional brass sections. The first sound is simply just a super saw. The next sound is an init patch from Massive. And finally, the brass ensemble. Here's the processing for the brass. Next, add some grungy brass one-shots. First, start with a cashmere stab. Next, a staccato brass shot. A second staccato brass shot. And finally, the same ensemble patch from earlier. Next, add a jazzy ride. Also add a dubstep influenced snare. Now let's hear what the intro sounds like so far. First, I start the build-up with just a build rhythm using the deep kick from earlier. I also added some choirs and saws playing the main chords as well as some risers and sweeps layered together. Build the hats. I also layered some rides just to fill out the space more in the build-up. I also turned the perk roll into a build-up pattern. I did the same for the clicky hi-hats. Next, play the main chords on a dramatic string section. First, I started with the drama strings patch in Nexus. Next, I layer some cellos. And finally, a sad song on the world's smallest violin. For electronic influence, I added some simple low-pass saws playing the chords. The first patch is just a distorted super saw. The next sound is just a massive init patch played as a bass. Make the brass shots follow the bass line. Layer a bunch of random impacts and risers together. I added this thing to relieve the stress right before the drop. Here's what the build-up sounds like right now. First, I start the drop with a stomp. Next, add a baseball sounding snare. I added some tom fills to fill up the space in the first empty beat of the drop. Trap snare, more tom fills. Add more snares layered together. Here's the hat pattern I laid down in the drop. Here's what the drop drums sound like together. Make the deep boy go crazy. Deep boy gang for life. Add a wobbly saw bass. The first patch is a softer, more pronounced saw, while the second patch adds more grittiness and high end. Next, play the chords and some super saws in the drop. The first patch is a wobbly super saw with a very papery high end that's panned slightly to the left. The second patch is another wobbly super saw with a noticeably different high end that's slightly panned to the right. It's important to make each of these sounds noticeably different while still somewhat similar. Finally, to add a punch to the sound, I used a regular stabby super saw. Here are the drop leads. The first patch is a gladiator screech. The second is a saw lead patch that I got from a Scrux video like 5 years ago. For the second half of the drop, I changed the melody. I also made sure to gate the sound to create and release tension throughout the drop. Next, I layered the same melody with a pluck. The first patch is a sine pluck with some white noise. The second is just a Nexus pluck preset. I should note that this track was made about 2 years ago and was never really finished, but with everything together, let's hear what I finished back then. Hey there. If you made it to the end of this video, I just wanted to let you know that you are a real one. I also wanted to let you know that after many many requests, I've finally released my own music on Spotify, Apple Music, and SoundCloud. My new song, Lose My Mind, is available on literally all platforms, so make sure to check out that link in the description. Also, if you're one of the people who haven't hopped on the train yet, I'd recommend getting on and subscribing with post notifications turned on, cause it's moving fast. Also, if you liked the video, like it. And as always, thank you guys for watching and cheers.